All that magic you hear about in fairy tales. 7-league boots, invisibility cloaks. It's starting to happen. Via tech, not magic. Though tech is a kind of magic. Man-made magic. The only kind that's allowed to exist. Magic is for cranks, fools, charlatans and hustlers in our culture. We don't believe in magic, but we do believe in books and movies about magic. We swallow those up by the bucket load. What is magic? It's kind of two things. First, magic is just deep knowledge about nature or human nature, understanding the world in ways others don't. Arthur C. Clarke says, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. We could say, any sufficiently advanced knowledge about nature or human nature is indistinguishable from magic. Think Cortez turning up in Mexico, armed with crossbows, horses, ships, and bacteria. Metal swords versus Stone Age weapons millennia ago. Anyone prehistoric in possession of a magnet. Aircraft flying over the Amazon, villagers waving their spears. This type of magic is culture clash, with the potential to fleece. It is mass spectacle, even more powerful for its unexplained theatre than for the practical advantage it delivers. In our culture, this kind of dazzling magic belongs to corporations and the state. We nothings are only supposed to know so much about leaves and rocks and how things work. Think of the massive taboo that Christianity puts on knowing too much about nature, herbs and potions. That's what they burnt witches for, back in the day. We reserve that wizardry for official agents, monks, academics, prospectors, corporations, not indies brewing strange hooch in the shed. It wasn't always like this. Once, knowing as much as you could about plants, animals, minerals, human nature was how we got by. This is very ancient knowledge, animal knowledge, how we survived and colonized the planet once upon a time when we were just another clade. They say Babylonian star observation records go back 300,000 years. And where does that knowledge trace from? Except the pre-human nous that birds, etc. still navigate by. Our lost birthright, cut from us and sold back to us in superstores, pharmacies, app stores. What are stars and planets to us anymore? All still available at one remove on our devices. Digital tech replicates the deep animal knowledge that looks like magic, but binds us to external devices. What was once stored in instinct or memory is now franchised in silicon, with a steep price to pay for its access. The price of third parties knowing everything about you. A price we seem happy to pay. But how will it be the day the phones go dead? How shorn and defenseless will we be, blind, mewling kittens, the blunted? What magic is being done to us personally and politically now we've handed our senses and souls over to digital tech? The second type of magic is more problematic. Yes, it is the force that digital effects films tell us so much about. This is stuff to make toes curl up utterly. Secret powers we could all harness were we trained enough. Occult ways to bend reality, fly, morph, become immortal, achieve dreams via chi, telekinesis, powerful objects, sixth sense. This is stuff for credulous fools, not us sophisticates in our culture of logic. All cause and effect, measurable data for us ultra-realists in our disenchanted world. Except, where are we? What is this strange world we've fetched up in, where the whole shebang looks magical and illogical from the get-go? Let's face it, where even the most materialist scientist is forced to accept that at least two magic things happened once in the deep past. The Big Bang, or however things first got started, and the spark of life in the first cell, the moment life and death got invented, when things stopped being just atoms and rocks. We live in this big magic, and it is our challenge, especially now we've done away with religion and become such techno-champs. Because despite our super devices, we can't replicate what that magic does. Our metal and silicon devices need power sources and an on switch. We can't make soft carbon life that grows from scratch and grows and reproduces the life spark. We can only harness existing life to make crude, rigid boxes, then trash and upgrade with new models, leaving a splatter of parts in our wake. And that means we can't stop death and become immortal, which is the magic that we actually want. We're too stupid to understand the setup that we've been plonked in. We've tried with religion, alchemy, science, engineering, but we've failed. We're going to die without understanding it, and so we've come to hate it and cancel it and put a hex on it, because we've dreamed up another plan.
There's been a sideways manoeuvre, a shift away from truth hunting, trying to prise open the magic our logic can't fathom. We've junked the wonder of interacting with something bigger than us, replaced it with a swizz of our own. Something no one voted for, that slipped in over the past half-century to replace everything. Digital, controllable, man-made magic. The immortal transmagic of the virtual world.
To some degree, all tech is transmagic, the often male attempt to ape the power of nature, a power often confused with female power, the power to create. But digital tech lets us do something else entirely. Instead of trying and failing to make physical machines that can understand everything about the world, bytes and screens have let us clone the world, or its visual aspect at any rate, to make its virtual double and then move into it. Lock, stock and barrel, casting off the old inconvenient original. This duplicate universe looks a lot like the real world, with a few big differences. We built and control it and determine its rules.
It never dies.
It isn't real. We can be anything we want here. Most of our hopes and dreams reside in this world now, exacerbated by COVID. What a spell its synthetic magic has cast over us. How we are entranced by it, designed as it has been by cunning psychologists tasked to thrall us by masters who want all our attention. And isn't it a marvellous place? Magical connections with people we'd never otherwise meet all over the world. Endless distraction. No more boredom. Bite-sized news and info so we can stay up to date with quick takes without having to dig deep or focus at length, making us easily offended and malleable. Death and resurrection in eternal games. The democratic possibility of instant fame for 5 minutes by a quick comment or image. Permanent access to our past, so everyone is instantly shameable, blackmailable, controllable, and redemption is never possible because nothing, including past crimes, ever dies. It even looks like magic, information flying through the air between devices. How many of us actually know or want to know about the underlying tech? And its innate power to model, the data and analytical crunching inherent in closed systems, has let it solve previously impossible challenges in the old world. So we can now build our invisibility cloaks, shred ourselves with grey goo, fly to other planets, flee from gnat-sized drones, as Chomsky warns. We kid ourselves it may even be able to solve the big death problem. Look how good it is at squeezing every possible drop of info out of tiny microbes and mini creatures that are perhaps the original stuff of life, snatched from extreme situations deep inside Earth to have their little bodies dissected and hollowed for gene therapies and clone growing so we can master nature's trick. But in our hearts, we know we never will, and we care less and less. We live here in this transmagic that we never voted for, that swallowed everything, where nature is scenic and animals cute for our social posts, where we can be anything we want because that's a useful byproduct of the experiment. When everything's reduced down to bytes and operations, then we're all the same, blank ice trays waiting to be filled with whatever colours we choose from the preset carousel. We call it diversity, but it's a monoculture that we're happy to kick back in, where similar difference is supplied as illusion and real otherness is outlawed. Photoshop, tints, filters for our faces and minds. New personas on demand, new sexes and races, ever more defined and self-policed interest groups. Plus, the righteous balm of personal or social victimhood when we're feeling down, which we often are, because it's actually a lying horror show with no exit except the death we moved into it to ignore, which will get us anyhow. And chugging away behind it all, the old interests, who now run us directly, that we're plugged into, that can read our plans, switch off dissent at a stroke. How much more convenient this swapped-out world is for them. The old world and its magic still exist, outside our walled garden, despised and haunting. We take selfies there. We experience it on screens, or as potential screen fodder, fiddling with image-capturing devices that act as condoms for our attention, so that we are insulated from the potential transformative power of a connection with what something greater than us created. We've already been transformed, on an industrial and controllable scale. Ourselves are shopping, fantasy, and nostalgia for the good old days. before we got blunted. All those films about magic, all those ingenious heroes marshalling nature. And soon these sops will merge when drones like Disney storks lay gewgaws at our doorstep without the need for any connection. Soon they won't need us at all. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my novel Twice, coming from Zero Books in June 2021.